afternoon.
Yeah, so we're happy to have everyone watch this tutorial on Capitalism Lab on how to deal with a uh, profit with purpose challenge. We are joined by CJ Sagaran, an MBA student whose team won the first tournament on Capitalism Lab. How are you doing, CJ?
Great, Doc Ben. Thanks for inviting me here.
Yeah, thank you for making time for this. This will help the other students. Now, CJ, what we'd like to do for the first part of our tutorial is for you to walk us through understanding the goals of the challenge and then doing the environment scan. Now, this we know this is very important for strategy. So we would like to use your saved file of how you did in the tournament as an example so that our students can also load that file and follow your example here. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so why don't we start? So how will you load the game based on your sample file?
Yeah, okay. So you can just click on load game here. And then the file name that I have is here. It's named Team 14 Final Challenge with the file name of saga underscore final dot save. And then you can just click on load there, and it will bring you actually to where I stopped on year 10. That's December 5, 2010. And this is where I can explain how, or basically understanding the goals required for the Profit with Purpose Challenge.
All right, so can you walk us through the goals?
Yes.
How do you check the goals? How is it displayed?
So actually, it's on your lower right screen, but this is just a summary. To actually look at the entire list of the goals, you can click on letter G, and there you go. You have your list of main goals required to um, for the Profit with Purpose Challenge. So going through each of the goals here, first one is the annual revenue of your
Mm-hmm.
corporation. You need to achieve at least $500 million. So as you can see, I was able to achieve as much as $1.8 billion by the end of year 10. And then you also have your total number of employees in your corporation. You need to achieve at least 1,000, and
1,000.
it will display here that I was able to achieve by year 10 as much as 2,445. Operating profit margin is also a requirement to achieve at least 15%. And here we were able to achieve as much as 29.89%. Later on, we're going to see actually how to look at these goals also using the financial details on the left-hand side. But for now,
Monitor your performance, right?
yes, that's correct. And then we also have return on equity at least 15%. So that's 27.16 by the end of year 10. And then 90% of functional units whose levels greater than or equal to 7. So while the first four goals are actually self-explanatory, this goal wherein 90% of functional units whose levels are greater than or equal to 7 is actually related to training. So if you could go to one of your firms, whether it be a retail store, your farms, your factory, you can actually check it here. So as you can see here, experience level of the unit is 9. So that's what it means to
Mm.
have at least 7. So it means that 90% of all your firms, whether retail, R&D, factories, should have at least level of 7. And then
So is there how can we look at that at the overall level? Is that done through the
it's
headquarters?
yeah, it's actually shown here also on the letter G screen. So you can
Ah, yes,
compare
there
the
is a
goals.
current status there.
Yes. So
Yes.
it means that out of all of my number of units, I was able to achieve as much as 1,023 units whose level is greater than 7, but the requirement was only 939.
All right. Hmm.
So it automatically computes for the 90%.
So this dashboard is very convenient, right?
Yes.
All right.
And then next is 90% of your products should have a quality rating of greater than or equal to 70. So it auto computes for the requirement also. It means that I need as much as 22 products whose level should be at least 70. And by end of year 10, I was able to achieve 25.
How do you see
So
that at the firm level?
yeah. So here, so these are my factories. Like for example, this one, this the sofa. So there, you can actually see the quality is 96,
All right.
which is a factor of these. Uh, First one is the quality of input items. So of course your raw materials would affect your overall product quality. And then your product or your production technology also affects your product quality. So the summation of uh the raw materials and the tech would result to 96, and this is
96.
the
Mm.
product quality. So that means that 90% of all your firms should have at least 7 here.
At least 70. All right. So you're pressing G again to bring this up.
Yes. And then this one, CEO to employee pay ratio, you can monitor this also through the G screen. The requirement is 30:1. Although this is not a good example that I wasn't able to put any salary for the CEO.
Yeah, at that
But
time it was not required to give
yes.
pay to CAO. But for our students now, we will be requiring them to pay. So how do you give pay to CEOs? Where can you do that?
So here at the corporate headquarters, you have one for the CEO
Mm,
office. And then if you click on that, you can adjust the annual salary of the CEO here. So as
I
you can
see.
see,
Mm,
if I increase this
mm-hmm.
and you press G, automatically it will increase the current one.
Ratio. So therefore, for 30 to 1, how high can you go?
Let's do a test. So if it's 30:1, maybe let's try first 1 million, somewhere there. There.
Yeah, let's try that as a baseline.
It's
So it
49.36.
has to be less than a million, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you can continue. At least that gives them an idea of where the ratio comes from and how to adjust.
Yes. And then you have your average firm training level. So this is also through your corporate headquarters. The requirement is at least 70. But if you go to headquarters, you need to have your human resources department. And you can adjust here the overall training level for all of your firms. So you can just adjust it here and then click apply all. So the new training setting has been applied to all of your firms. And I have clicked on 70 as much as 76%. So
And the
if I
goal
do
is
that,
70.
yes, the requirement is 70. So I'm
Mm,
still way beyond the requirement.
I see. All right.
And then second to the last is your civic donations as a percentage of lifetime profit. So the requirement is at least 10%. While
Mm,
you can actually do this manually, there's an easier way of doing it via the corporate headquarters again. So I didn't do it here, but oh, I did. It's the community engagement department,
mm-hmm.
and then you can easily set it. So here I set it as much as 10.15%.
Mm,
So the requirement is only 10% for you to achieve the goal.
all right.
And last but not the least is your number of game years played. So again, this is self-explanatory. I ended in December 5, 2010. So that's 10 years. Therefore, I was able to achieve this goal.
There you go. So at least now you've shown the students how to bring up the goal dashboard with by pressing G, and then they can see what the goals are, and then they can see the status, their status. Now, part of the goals of the challenge also is the ranking goals. Uh, for example, the students are told, although this is not directly shown in the goal dashboard, that they're supposed to rank in the upper half. upper half of the let's say revenue. So how are they going to see if they're doing well on that?
Yeah. Okay. So here you have information on the lower left of the screen. You can just click on that and then click on corporate details and then rankings. So you can see
For
here,
example, on revenue.
yeah. So for revenue, we have there annual revenue. This
Mm.
is what I showed earlier, as much as 1.8 billion, and then I ranked first.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that would definitely be in the upper half. Now,
Yes.
I think the students are also required to rank high on return on equity
Okay,
there. All
so you
right.
can also see return on equity here. 27.16% rank is first.
Okay. So that gives us an idea, right? So I think that completes our first part of guiding the students on how to check the goals and their status. Now, can we go to a little bit of environment scanning?
Yeah, sure.
How will you check the environment as a basis for your strategy?
Yes.
Like the
So,
competitors, their products, performance, other performance metrics.
yeah. So during the term, Doc Ben emphasized in our class the need for your external environment scanning, as early on in our topics or discussions in strategic management. And game-wise or capitalism lab-wise, the first thing that you need to do is actually to check your settings. Most of the players or the students, if I may say, skip this part, but this is actually very important. So from your screen, you just press escape and then game settings or F9. And then you can see here actually the settings of the actual challenge or the game. So the goals are here and then the products and all that. So if you click on products as an example, you can see here that seaports importing consumer goods per city are set at 3. And then seaports importing industrial goods per city is also set at 3. Constant import supply is set as yes, and the import quality is set as high. So actually, if you see this setting, it already gives you an idea that you can actually rely on your suppliers. You don't need to worry about supply chain disruptions during the game because there is no that it the constant import supply is set as yes. And then also in terms of quality, which is very essential for your quality rating goal for all of your products, you can actually say that you can get those raw materials from the suppliers at the seaports because the quality setting is high.
Mm.
So that's the actually the importance of checking the settings of the challenge or the game. Similarly, for your competitors, so the game starts with 4 competitors, but come year 2010, it actually went as high as I think 15 to 20 competitors.
20 plus competitors. All
Yes.
right.
And then their startup capital here is moderate. The expansion aggressiveness is also moderate and all that. Um, Competence of local competitors, or these are actually other competitors that you don't often see in your competitor screen because those are your corporations. So these are your local competitors per city. And then we also have your pricing aggressiveness, AI tech head start. Yeah, you can see all of these in the competitor tab. And what we are after actually for the environmental scanning is this, the environment. So the reason why there are 3 cities in this challenge is because the number of cities is set at 3. And then our startup capital is very high, so that's an advantage. And then this is important. The random events is set at seldom. So that means that if it's seldom, you will seldom experience things like there's a fire in one of your stores, it got demolished,
Mm.
whatever. And then,
Oh, pandemics.
correct. And then there's also the boom bust cycle volatility, which is set at low. So you don't need to worry about very disruptive economic cycles, which is actually also important for knowing what products you would like to sell or to market in this game. What else? So yeah, the technology disruption is also low. So that's part of the environmental scanning that everyone should do prior to starting the game.
Great. So I think that's a good introduction to environment scan. Now, can we dig in some more and find out more information about our competitors? How would you go about finding out more about the competitors, the resource environment, the state of the economy, the cost of land, customer traffic, etc.?
Okay. So you can go back actually to your lower left part of the screen and click on information. Here you can see the corporations, and as I mentioned a while ago, in the settings, it was mentioned there that it started with 4 competitors, but take note that I ended the year 2010 with as much as 20 corporations competing with one another. So
Mm,
here you can see a snapshot of their financial performance as for the past 36 months or 3 years. And then if you would go to your corporate details, um, click on first firms, you can actually see the types of firms that they have established as well as the number of firms. So for our team, I built one headquarters as much as 86 retail stores, 34 factories, while the rest of your competitors like Star Ultima, they have 48 retail stores, 27 factories, 10 R&D
mm,
centers, etc. The
okay.
revenue or the profit per type of firm is also displayed here. Okay, so that's very much informative. The products are also here. So as you can see, uh, these are the products sold by Star Ultima with the respective revenue, gross profit, and profit
Profit
margin.
margin, yes.
And then if you would like to see their overall financials, balance sheet and income statement, you have it here on the right-hand side. Balance sheet is here, so assets, liabilities, and equity for all of your competitors. And
Mm.
then you also have the income statement of your competitors, as well as the product tech. Okay. So here, um, the top technology per product is actually displayed, and where your competitors at is here in the current tech. And since trade
Mm.
secrets are open, their target tech is also displayed here on the middle.
So you know what they're researching on.
Yes.
Mm.
So I've shown rankings a while ago already, so we can go with other uh, pestle factors. So if you want to know more about the economy, you have here on your right-hand side of the screen a plus button. So if you click on that, it will display different information about the economy, such as the inflation rate, unemployment rate, economic state. So as I mentioned, it's quite static given the settings, and then GDP growth as well as your loan interest rate here. Okay. So it's also good to know or to have a quick environmental scanning so you can check your resources because some products would require natural resources. So if you click on this one, there. So it will display letters, which are most of it are actually the first letters of the natural resources. So like for O here, if you click on that, that's oil. And then you have here S, I think that's silica. Yeah, C
Silica.
for coal. And then G, that's gold. A, aluminum. V, this is silver. There. And then if you click on
M
another,
is for chemical minerals, no?
yes, chemical minerals. I is for iron ore. T is timber. Yeah. And then it will also display those natural resources in other cities like Cedar Bluff and Otsego. And last but not the least, you need to also check the cost of land, the cost of building a firm, as well as your traffic index. So while you can check it here on the mini map screen, you actually need to build an actual retail store to check. So if you click on here, cosmetic store as an example, and you hover it to one of the uh,
So
colored
where are you hovering now?
here. So on your left, upper left hand side of the screen, you can see
Mm.
your building cost. $163,860. Land cost is as much as $8 million. And then the customer traffic index is quite low. It's only just 15.
So can you move it around so we can see the hovering? Oh, there. Okay. So as you're moving your mouse, the information on building and land cost and customer traffic is updating. So that's very important when choosing a retailing location, right?
Yes.
All right. So I think this is a good overview of checking the goals and then doing an initial environment scan. So this time, we're glad, CJ, you gave us an overview of the goals of the challenge, as well as how to check resources through the environment scan, the state of the economy, the cost of the land, etc. Now we'd like you to show us how to start running the challenge itself, and then how to do the initial important steps in starting the business, right? Like building headquarters, setting up offices, etc. So could you show us how to do that? But this time start from a fresh challenge file.
Yeah. Thanks, Doc Ben. So here we'll start with a new challenge. So you can click on new game. And then the challenge game is here. Profit with purpose. You can click on load there. And then I'll type the corporation name and then my name there. And then we can start. Okay. So there are a lot of things to consider, but the very basic step is, I guess, pausing the game and knowing when to run it. So there are actually
How do you know when the game is paused?
yeah, so here, as you can see on your screen, there the figures on the bottom left-hand side of the screen are not moving. So
Mhm.
it stays at 0. Okay, and also here on the left, there's a meter here, which is the game speed. Okay, so it's set at 0, meaning the arrow is pointing to the leftmost part. Okay, and then you can click on any number from 0 to 5, which will set the speed of the game, 5 being the highest and 0 is the pause.
And your calendar is also frozen at the bottom here, right?
Yes,
That's
it's not
very
moving
helpful.
January 1, 2000.
Okay. Now, why is it important to pause?
So actually, if you don't pause, the game will just continuously run in terms of your financial performance, your competitors, the tech, and everything, the inflation, the economy. So if you don't pause, you might lose some opportunities to make important strategic decisions.
Ah, all right.
So at any given point in time during the game, it might be possible that your competitors are um, better in terms of specific products or specific industries, or it's also possible that some unfortunate economic events or company specific events occur. Your financials are actually going down without you noticing. So
Mm.
it's good to pause the game every now and then to make emergent strategies, if I may say.
Yeah, which is part of strategic management, right?
So
How do you build headquarters?
Okay, so the first part is building your headquarters. You can actually do that by clicking on here the build menu, okay? And then you have here your headquarters. Okay. So I'll just set it up here as an example. Okay. There. Once you have built your corporate headquarters, you have 9 cells or 9 boxes, okay?
Mm,
And each box, you can either select any unit here from human resources department to real estate department, okay? So I'll be explaining each of these very quickly. So human resources department, this is where you can set your training levels, which is actually required for one of your goals. And then you also have I'll just go with the important ones. Community engagement department. This is needed, as I mentioned a while ago, for your civic donations, which is the
mm,
requirement is 10%. Okay. Then you can also set up here your CEO office, which
mm.
will determine your CEO to employee pay ratio. Okay. And then another one is your COO office. Okay.
Why
The
is the
COO,
COO important?
for me, especially during the challenge itself, one of the most important contributions of the CEO is in terms of the profit margin goal for me.
Mm,
So, if you let the CEO manage your retail stores, which I will explain later on, he can actually set the price levels relatively high for you to achieve your profit margin goal.
mm,
And then you also have your chief marketing officer's office. This is where you can set the advertising budget for all of your firms, not just one, so that you can do it efficiently. Okay. And then you also have your chief technical officer's office. So one of the things that your CTO can do is if you're low on product tech in some of your products, your CTO can actually purchase from your competitors the top technology for you to achieve your desired technology.
mm.
The rest you can also do, but they're not much relevant in terms of achieving your goals. They're basically optional. So I think it's also good to discuss here how to look for your possible candidates.
Yeah, hiring
So
executives.
that's correct. So here for the COO position, you can just click on look for candidates and then you can browse here. There are a lot of candidates, but what you want, of course, is someone who is good in retailing if you want him to be in charge of your retail firms or maybe farming or manufacturing. So it is actually indicated here. The rating from the lowest is 0, the highest is 100. So someone, for me, I chose someone who is good at retailing, farming, manufacturing, or at least two of the three criterias. So maybe we can check one.
So executive search is a bit challenging, huh?
Yeah. Here. So Carter Redfield is actually high in terms of retailing. So if I want to get him, I will just click on hire as chief operating officer.
Mm.
And it will display you the annual salary that he is requesting here. And if you click on yes, there. So he's already your COO. Okay.
So your first hire.
So you can do the same for your chief marketing officer. Of course, you want a rating that is high in marketing, as well as your chief technology
Mm,
officer, which is a rating high in technology.
mm,
Um, Actually, if I go to the COO office, uh, details there. Okay. So this is one of the things that is most useful during the game. You can actually set the profit margin level you want your COO to achieve in this screen. So as you can see, it starts with the balanced setting, but you
mm.
can move it to the left if you want to maximize profit margin, which is one of your goals, or you can move it to the right if you want to maximize market share. So this is one of the
Mm.
important features of hiring a
So there's
COE.
a trade-off, in other words.
Yes,
So if you maximize profit margin, you will tend to reduce market share, right?
yes.
Revenues can go down, but margins will be higher. All right.
Okay. So I think that we can pause there for the hiring of executives as well as your corporate headquarters. Um,
And then can you try giving salary to your CEO?
yes. So here, annual salary is set as 0. And if you click on goals here, your current ratio is also 0:1. But if you go to corporate headquarters and increase that, say the maximum right now is $100,000 annual salary. So if you click on goals, there it's 5.79:1.
Because you have not hired so many employees yet, no?
Yes.
So if you had many employees, that would be, uh, yeah, we will observe that. Earlier, I think when you did a pre-testing, it was about 1 million or less for the 32 one.
Yes.
But at least you have shown how to set up. So I think once you start building your firms, then employees will be hired, and we will see what happens to that ratio.
Yep.
Okay, so let's begin setting up retail firms.
Okay. So in terms of setting up retail firms, you can click on here and then choose retail store. So you have a variety of retail stores to choose from. The first ones here from the department store up to the discount mega store can actually um, display or sell a variety of products as opposed to your specialty stores here, which can
Mm.
only showcase those specific items that those specialty stores are specializing in, if I may
Mm.
say.
Mm.
So, but the advantage of setting up specialty stores is they have a greater boost in terms of the demand. Okay, as you can see here, specialty store demand bonus, the one in red font. Okay,
Mm.
so you can click on one here. And then, as I mentioned a while ago, you need to check, of course, the cost of land as well as the building cost, um, and including the customer traffic index. Personally, when I did the challenge, I would consider a good index if it's at least 35 to 40 and above. I
Mm.
mean, you could always have a very high traffic index of 60, 70, but you will notice that the cost of land and the building cost will also
Very
increase.
expensive. All
So you
right.
need to strike a balance between those factors. Okay.
So I
So,
notice your paused this whole time, no?
sorry, Doc Ben.
You're paused this whole time
Yes,
as you are doing this strategic decision making.
yes, that's right.
Mm.
So, here I set up a leather store in Otsego, but notice that setting up a retail store per city uh, will entail you different costs in terms of your building costs as well as your land costs. So be very careful with that. Not all cities have the same levels in terms of the cost. Okay.
And of
So
course, when you set up a leather store, your environment scanning should have shown that leather is available in this city,
yes.
right?
So, in terms of choosing which products to set up, I
Mm.
think it's good to note because you would also want to diversify or basically offer as much products as you can. But I guess a key technique in choosing what products to sell would be to check your manufacturing guide. I think it's here in the information tab there, manufacturer's guide. Okay. So what I did was in terms of choosing what to sell, you can actually check the raw materials needed for the actual product.
Mhm.
So if a blazer requires textile or linen, I would also check what other products use linen or textiles as their raw materials so that I can achieve greater efficiency in the value chain. So if I click on linen and I click on more, I can see here that chair also uses linen. And then if I click on more again, I could see that a leather briefcase also uses linen. So in the challenge game or in the file that we used for the competition, you can actually see that the products we selected have common raw materials.
I see.
So that's
So that takes planning, right?
yes. So you really need to, if I may say, you really need to master the manufacturing guide. You cannot just simply select products carelessly.
Very strategic.
And then also, I mentioned a while ago that um, the economy is actually set to, the boom and bust is set to a low. So you don't expect much economic disruptions all throughout the game. So this is where, if I may just check.
Be Before we go there, can you
Yes.
show us how to choose? Okay, so suppose you're choosing a product and a supplier for your retail. How is that done? So you already have, is your sample retail store the leather store, or are you opening another retail store?
Oh, here. So if it's
Yeah.
the leather store, but yeah, you
So
can
there's one.
actually click on one of the boxes in your leather store, and you can see here that a leather wallet is available from the seaports here in Otsego.
So imported.
So if I double click on that, there, actually unit in terms of purchase and sales for the leather wallet. But of course, later on, you would want to vertically integrate and be the one producing this leather wallet. But if you can actually also select the items from the seaports if it is available.
So how can we check if they're delivering? Can we try running the calendar? Will they deliver?
So if I click on the run,
Uh-huh.
maybe let's set it at the pace of 2 or maybe 4 now. There. So as you can see, the figures here are moving already as well as the date. And if I pause it again and I click on leather store, there, you would know that it's already being delivered or working.
So this is the delivery. So can you press 3 again to make it run? Let's see what's happening. Hmm,
There.
there. So the blue boxes indicate the deliveries. And then, all right, so we're seeing deliveries in progress. Okay. So let me just remove my drawing. And then what about pricing? How do you adjust your pricing?
Yeah. So actually, in terms of pricing, you can adjust it uh, per product,
Mm,
or you can also adjust it via your COO. Okay,
mm.
so if you want it per product, here,
So if you click maybe here's a sales.
there.
Ah, there, yeah.
So if you click on leather wallet and then you have here your price, okay? So this is your current price. It's $129. But if you want to increase it, you can manually do it here. So if I click on the plus sign there, I'm actually increasing the price of this leather wallet in the retail store. But
So the
as I
average price in the city is
mentioned, 23,
$123. Okay. But
which
right
will
now you
also
ask the COO to do this for you, right?
yes, I usually ask the COO. So in order to do that, you need to click on your retail firm and then click here on the top, this image or this icon. And then your COO is here, Carter Redfield. And if you select every retail store, he will manage every retail store that you own. So
All
there.
right.
You
So
can
you
actually
delegated
adjust
to
the
him.
levels from your corporate headquarters already if you want to set it at a very high profit margin or a very high market share, and he will automatically adjust the price in all of the stores.
Good, good. So what about advertising?
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of advertising, you can actually select here. It's preferred to be in the middle box. Advertising unit. The cost of setup is also here. Okay. And then click on the advert. Sorry. You need to link a media. So the media stations are displayed here, and what you actually want is a low cost. So in terms of the three here, your lowest cost is this one at 2.24. And
Hmm.
you also want a high rating. So the rating points is here, 21.55, 25.06, and 43.27. So in terms of the rating points and cost ratio, it would seem that this third one is actually the best,
Mhm.
because with the minimal difference in terms of cost, it can give you a higher rating points at 43.27. So you can click on that, select media. You can adjust your budget here, the red uh
Slider.
color liner, yeah. So you can increase it by moving it to the right, or you can increase it by moving it to the left. And then take note that the effect of any advertising on your product would be here. If you click on the leather wallet again, there. The brand is currently 0, but with advertising, this can increase over time.
So is it best to connect the advertising with the sales there?
Yes. So yeah.
So if we run the calendar, does that mean it will begin to improve the brand?
So maybe I can click on 4 there.
So we're seeing the
Brand
effect.
in
Okay. All right. Now, what about training, then marketing?
okay. So in terms of training, you can set it in your corporate headquarters, as I mentioned. Okay, so you have your human resources department, and you can adjust the training levels for all of your firms by just dragging this one to the right and
Okay.
then apply.
So uniform.
So I have applied the 73% average training level per firm. Actually, by doing this, you have already achieved one of the goals by as shown by the check mark. But you need to maintain that over time, of course, to increase your functional level of your units. So as you go along, it will actually increase your like for example, the sales unit as well as your purchasing unit.
How do
The
you know
training.
that it's increasing?
Yeah, so this one is the experience level of the unit. And
Mm.
then this one here is, where's that? There. So experienced workers are denoted by stars. When all the workers in a functional unit have become experienced, the unit level will increase by 1. So it is actually training that increases this one.
Can we run the calendar and see what works?
So if I click on 4, there.
I see.
But actually, or actually, I can adjust the training itself here also.
Directly in this particular firm. So I noticed, this is a specialty store, so there's just one employee there. No? So, okay. So if this was a larger store, we would have more employees there.
Yes.
What does the star mean again in the upper right here?
Oh, sorry. There.
This one on top. That one's, the quality. That's the quality of the wallet, which is
Yes.
already above our target of 70. Okay, so it's 76. All right. So what about overall marketing approaches? How is that done? You have a CMO, right?
Yes. So in terms of marketing, actually, one of the strategies that I used is before starting the game or clicking on the speed button, you can actually go to information, and then under your corporate details, you have here your brand. Okay. So you can choose from corporate brand, range brand, or unique brand. But if you'll ask me, what I often choose is the range brand. So as when you do advertising, you only need to set it in one of your retail stores, and every other retail store in that city will already be affected. So if I choose that range branding and I click on yes, that will actually modify the setting of your game, and it's not encouraged that you do this in the middle of the game or at the end of the game. So you need to do this at the very start. And then here for your leather store, as I mentioned, you have here your advertising, which will increase your brand awareness. The budget is here. You can set it higher or lower. But of course, if you have several retail stores already with several advertising units, the most efficient way to do this is via your corporate headquarters using the Chief Marketing Officer's office. So if I look for a candidate here, let's just go with anyone um, in terms of marketing there. So let's hire this as Chief Marketing Officer. And then I go to corporate headquarters, I will set the advertising budget to, let's say, 156. Apply all there. So as you can see, the advertising budget in my leather store is also set at $156,000.
So can we click on the wallet and see what the effect is on our brand? Okay, so does that mean we need to connect here the advertise?
Yes.
Okay, so if we run the clock, what happens? Ah, there. Okay. So now we're seeing the effect. Looks good. Oh, how come the link disappears again? Ah, okay. I think it's because of the range. So I think even if you specify it here, if you run it, the range takes over.
Mm,
Can you try running it again? There, I think the range takes over.
yeah.
So because it overrides the firm level instructions. Now, what about, yeah, if you're managing your supply chain, suppose you want to change your supplier, etc. But this is a specialty store, no? So we're only getting leather goods. Are there other leather goods available now? If we click here, there's no one else. Okay. So maybe we can demonstrate with a department store so that we can have more product types.
So I'll set up a department store
Yeah.
there.
Here we have more product types, no? So we can see you are now choosing different products and suppliers, then you will be, so the range will apply, but range applies to groups of products, right?
Yes.
And pricing, okay. Quality management, likewise, you're checking for the quality,
Here.
yeah, of the supplier you're selecting. So can you choose one?
So maybe we can select here body lotion there.
Okay, there you go. Now, aha, we seem to have this alert here. Can we try running the clock and see what happens? Ah, there. So for a while there was no supply coming in.
Yeah. Because the game was paused.
Hmm. So what will it take for our... I'm checking whether the brand will benefit from the range, or this is a separate product group? I suppose this is not the same as the wallet.
Yeah.
So how do we advertise for this? Do we advertise separately here?
Yes. So since this is a different product class, we need to set up an advertising unit as well. Then linked it. Okay. Choose a media. Uh, Cost is
So we already have internet advertising available here.
there.
Okay.
If I
Ah,
click it,
there. All right. So already we're seeing the effect on the brand. Okay. Uh, so that means if there are some problems, you can also do some problem solving, right? So
yeah,
if there is an interruption in the supply chain, or if quality is not high enough, then you can choose other suppliers.
yes.
And then, so clearly this one is very low because you have not yet, the training hasn't kicked in yet. But
Mm-hmm.
your training level is set at headquarters, right?
Yes.
So does that mean, well, this should go up slowly since you did that. So let's see. How
Well,
soon
actually, I
can you double
think,
check?
yeah. So I'll let first the CEO take charge, not the COO, because the COO might be affecting the training levels.
Mm,
So then headquarters, human resources, let's set it at
ah,
percent.
there. Okay.
There. So if I run this,
So we're now seeing, well, this one is going up
there.
now slowly. Now, can we check the COO again? And you're right, he might be overriding the training budget, right? Can we check that? So if we go, so
So
in,
if I click on more, there, he suddenly decreased the training to 0.
so can we check him? Let's check the COO in headquarters. And then COO, and then I think that's in budget, so we can override that. So I think we have to tell him not to override the training budgets. Yeah, because otherwise he will keep doing that. Okay, so we get it. So that means he will not, yeah, intervene with training.
Yes.
Although he will adjust advertising budgets and R&D. So we just have to be mindful of this, no? Okay. And then, all right, what about setting up R&D units and why is that important?
Okay. So in terms of setting up R&D units, that's important because of your goal here, which is 90% of your products whose quality rating should be greater than or equal to 70. So as I mentioned, if you are actually producing your own products and then selling it in your retail firms, it will be influenced by the raw materials as well as your product technology. So in terms of product technology, you can do that or increase it by setting up R&D centers. So from the build menu, you can click on R&D center. Okay, let's try one. Okay. And then add, I usually select as much as 9 to speed up the increase in terms of product tech. Okay. Click on the middle box. Click this one, and you can see here the list of candidates for the specific product classes that you are after, as well as their salary levels. Okay.
Mm,
So what's crucial here is that if you're actually a beginner, you might do this carelessly by just hiring all of them without checking the skill levels per city. Okay. So if I actually set up another R&D center, let's say in Cedar Bluff, you can see here that the skill set actually decreased significantly. So you what and of course the salary, but what you would want is a higher skill level, because if not, you won't reach your target product tech for the products that you are manufacturing or that you are selling. Okay. One more thing in terms of your product R&D. Okay. So if you click here and choose the R&D, let's say for apparel, and then you hire all of them, okay, and then start R&D, you can actually choose which product. So let's say it's the leather jacket that we want, okay? And then it will ask you for the number of years. Okay. So what's crucial here is that you don't want actually a very short period wherein you will keep on checking your R&D centers every now and then repeat the process over and over again. But at the same time, you also don't want as long as 10 years because your game is actually up to the 10th year only. So you will basically benefit from your R&D at the end of the game, which is not sensible. So you can select as early as 3 years, or for me, actually, normally select as much as 5 years. And then if the product technology after 5 years is not enough for me, or maybe the competitors outpaced me, then I select another 5 or 3 year from then on. So if I select it here, there, it's actually starting. um, but one more, throughout the game, it's possible that your employees here will leave you as indicated by their loyalty. So you do not want a low loyalty level here. So for me, what I actually do is at the start of the game, I already raise all of their salaries to as high as at least 90. So if I click on raise all twice, there, it's 92. That level of loyalty, in the next 10 years, you're quite sure that they won't leave you even if you just leave the R&D units running. Okay. Because if not, you will often encounter some announcements that your employees have left you in your R&D centers.
So compensation is important.
Yes.
All right. Uh, and then you just monitor that. So, okay. Now, as the simulation is running, how do you check your performance? How well you're doing on the goals? And then making adjustments to improve performance.
Okay. So well, we just set up one or two R&D centers and one retail store, but nevertheless, you can actually monitor your performance by clicking on G. Okay. So these are your targets as mentioned a while ago, while here on the right is your current performance. So as you can see, since we only have one retail store, we're very much far away from the target of $500 million. We only have one retail, one corporate headquarters, and two R&D centers. Therefore, you're far away from your target number of employees of 1,000. We're not making much profit, so it's actually a negative profit margin. Your return on equity is quite low as well. Then the functional units whose level is greater than or equal to 7 is only 2. CEO to employee pay ratio is also here. Product quality, average firm training level. Since we didn't have any civic donations yet, it's actually an marked NA for the meantime. And then since we're still in year 2000, the number of games years played is still 0. So as you run the game, actually, like if I press 4,
Hmm.
you can see here that the
Yeah.
metrics
You
are
make it
changing
three
here.
so that it's 1 day per second. And then let's check how the competitors are doing. What have they been up to? So competitive analysis. So what are they doing?
So here for Star Ultima, if you click on firms, oh, they've already established as much as 4 retail stores, 2 factories, 2 R&D centers, and 1 farm.
And
And then
what products are they into? Ah,
desktop
there.
computer, eggs, frozen beef, pork, printer,
And then
balance sheet.
how is their ranking in terms of the financials? Okay,
Okay, let me see.
revenue, they're the first in revenue. And then return on equity, they're fourth. So this is very important because the student player has to have a good ranking overall, upper half. So if there are 20 competitors, the ranking of the student should be at least 10th, rather ninth, no, ninth and above.
Actually, if I click on corporations, it's already as much as 21. We're just
So
in
it's
year
increasing.
2000.
All right. So yeah, so it's very important to look at the competitors. I think this is also commonly overlooked by students. They're not looking at how the competitors are doing and then not benchmarking on their practices, which is very important because strategic management really involves benchmarking.
In
All
terms
right.
of benchmarking, Doc Ben, can I quickly share my
Yes.
game file? I just want to show something there.
All right. So you will load your
Yes.
completed game file. So load game. Yeah.
Okay. So a while ago, I showed you how to check rankings by clicking on corporate details and rankings. Okay. So you can see here that I actually ranked first in a lot of the financial metrics, but there are also some stats here wherein I ranked third, fourth, second, and so on and so forth. Okay. So what's good here is that you can actually see who is leading in terms of those financial metrics and what are they doing to get that kind of ranking. So if I do or if I easily check, for example, annual net profit, although this is not part of the goals, but I can see here that Star Ultima is leading at $385 million. So if I click on Star Ultima and I click on their income statement, this is their net profit. Okay. And if I compare mine, so if I click on Team 14, I can easily see that what's causing actually my net profit to go down would be the loan interest and the increase in asset value. So Star Ultima doesn't have any loans. Okay. But notice that their operating revenue as well as their operating profit is actually almost half of mine. Operating revenue of Team 14 is at 1.8 billion, while Star Ultima is only at 971. And then in terms of operating profit, Star Ultima is 377, while mine is 563. But how come Star Ultima got a higher net income? Because they don't have any loans. So that's
So their
actually,
cost structure is very different, no, from yours.
yes. And then another one, as an example, um, operating profit margin. So you can easily see here that um, for Team 14, operating profit margin, we are only ranked 18th. Okay, and then the first one, I think this is there. It's New Lunar. So Lunar ranked first in terms of operating profit margin. Okay, and if you click on their income statement, so you can easily see that they actually have a low operating revenue and their cost is actually very low also, which led to the high operating profit margin. But if you click on their firms, they just have two internet companies, one R&D center and one headquarters. So you can easily see why. That's actually the importance of checking your or benchmarking against your competitors. And one last example, if I click on products, So there, okay. So if I click on products, mine is the yellow one, you will notice that the leather jacket is actually being dominated by the brown color, which is matte stylists.
Mm.
Okay. So if I go to matte
So
stylists and
you're
I
not
click
the market
here,
leader there.
yeah. So matte stylist, uh, product details. Oh, sorry. Wait,
So leather jacket, is it?
there. Okay. So in terms of the leather jacket of Matt Stylist, you can see here Team 14, which is ours, and then the competitor Matt Stylist. So Matt Stylist is actually dominating the leather jacket industry simply because one, look at the price. Their price is actually lower than ours. But if you click on the quality there, okay, and also the brand, so actually, our product or leather jacket has a higher quality, okay?
Mm.
And Matte Stylist has a lower quality. But look at their brand. The brand rating is actually 88, whereas ours is only 73 because the brand awareness is only 54, while Matte Stylist brand awareness is 83. So, meaning, if you would want to dominate this leather jacket industry and kind of beat Matt Stylist, you can actually do an increased advertising
I see.
strategy or budget for the leather jacket, as well as decrease your price to
Price.
improve your overall customer value proposition.
And this is shown in the concern here, right? So this is what the value proposition
Yes,
wants, no? The customers want brand, then quality, and finally price. So it's very important for the students to be mindful of their value proposition versus what the customers want.
yes,
And then the nice thing here is you can really see how yours compares with the top competitors.
yep.
So overall, my stylist is 20 here, and you're on 18 and 19. Okay. Yeah, so that's helpful. So it's very important to check. Okay. So in summary, can you summarize what was your overall strategy in trying to achieve the goals of this challenge? What worked for you?
Oh, so in terms of the overall winning strategy, there's actually a lot that I could share. Maybe what I'll do is
Maybe
I'll
the top
go,
three highlights.
yeah, I'll use the goals to
Yeah.
discuss them.
Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of annual revenue for your corporation, what you would want is to um of course produce as much products as you can using the same raw materials as I mentioned, but you would also want to vertically integrate. You need to set up your own farms, your own factories, and they'll be the ones providing your own products to your retail stores so as to increase your overall revenue, because it's also possible that your competitors are actually getting products from you and then selling them in their own retail stores.
So can we see how many firms you actually set up? So in your corporate details here,
Sorry.
how many and then firms? All right. So what did you do? You set up 86. Oh, that's a lot of stores. And
Actually,
then,
we were pressed for time during the competition, but if we didn't have any time limit, we would have established as much as 150 to 200 retail stores. But due to time constraints, we were only able to set up 86
but
retail.
this seems to suffice to achieve the goals.
Yes, yes.
So, except perhaps so I'd be very interested if the CEO pay ratio can be supported by this number of stores. And then you have 34 factories, 3 farms, and 1 mine. So you're
So
saying
actually,
these are vertically
what's
integrated.
the primary contributor to the annual revenue would be the retail stores. As seen here, it's 1.1 billion. Then the next are the factories, followed by the farms.
Mm.
Total number of employees will follow. Okay, so as the more retail stores, the more farms, the more factories that you set up, of course, that your number of employees will also grow. So
Mm.
it follows. And then your operating profit margin. Again, what's key here is that if you already have enough overall rating for your products as evidenced by your brand, your quality, as well as your overall pricing. So basically, your customer value proposition. You can actually instruct your COO in your corporate headquarters to maximize profit margin by moving this to the left hand side. That will really help increase your profit margin and achieve the goal.
But you already have to have good products, right?
Yes.
And,
Because if
and,
you
and
start
well-trained people.
increasing your prices without establishing or basically producing good products, you will actually suffer from it rather than benefit.
So well-trained employees and good products
And
and
then,
and a good brand.
yes, definitely. For return on equity, some say that this is actually the hardest part of all the goals, which I actually think is also. But some tips in terms of return on equity. So as you go along establishing your factories, your retail firms, as well as your farms, return on equity will automatically increase, of course, because when you already produce enough revenues, okay, or income for your company, ROE will follow. But okay, you cannot stay complacent. You cannot just leave your business as it is for the next 10 years and hoping for ROE to increase continuously because it will not. Okay. So at a certain point in time, maybe 5 years after, 6 years after, once you've already reached your maximum capability in terms of your annual revenues or income, you will notice that your ROE will start to decrease.
Mm.
So the reason for that is because if you don't actually establish any retail store or invest in any project, your income will become retained earnings, or basically, to put it simply, it's like cash that is sleeping in your company because you're not declaring also any dividends. So since you're not utilizing that cash, it eventually becomes part of your equity, but your income is already stable.
Mm.
So in order to address that, there are actually two things that you can do. If you have enough time, as I mentioned, you can actually increase your number of retail stores as you go along, your factories, your farms, because every investment in those kinds of firms will actually increase your ROE. You will notice. So that's one. But actually, that takes time because establishing retail firms is time consuming. But the second one is actually utilizing your loans. Okay.
Mm.
So here you can actually borrow money. Although albeit up to a certain amount only. In fact, during the start of like, the game, I think you can borrow as much as, I don't know if it's between 200 to 500 million dollars. But as you go along and increase your profits, increase your return on equity, your credit standing actually also increases.
I
And
see.
you will be open to or basically your lenders will be open to for you to borrow more money. And if you simply borrow money, you will notice a huge leap in your return on equity. So actually, here, what made the return on equity as high as 27.16% was actually the loan that we took from one of the lenders come year 9 or year 10, if I can recall correctly. So from the financials or corporate details income statement, uh, team 14, there. You can see that for the past 10 years, I was able to borrow as much as $621 million. So this actually significantly contributed to increasing the return on equity of the company.
Mm.
Okay.
Good.
And then uh 90% of functional units whose levels greater than or equal to 7, as well as your average firm training level, you can easily achieve those by setting the training in your headquarters using the human resources department. Okay.
Mhm.
And then
But
for
you have to
C,
tell the COO not to cut your budgets
yes, to
unnecessarily,
intervene.
right? Mhm.
Correct. And then for your 90% of products whose quality ratings is greater than or equal to 70, again, the primary contributor or key metric to that is through your R&D centers. But again, you have to be mindful in terms of the skill level of your employees as well as your competitors. So of course, it's not only you who's trying to increase your product tech, but your competitors are
Mm.
increasing their product tech as well. And we shared a while ago how to check the target levels of the product tech of your competitors as seen here in the uh, corporate details tech product. Okay. But assuming that uh, in the later part in year 2007, 2008, 2009, one of your competitors actually outpaced you in terms of product tech. Another option, as I mentioned, would be to go to your headquarters, hire a chief technology officer or chief technical officer. Okay, so let's try one. You would want someone who is high in research and development there. Okay. And then you can actually acquire product tech from other companies. So there. But the concern here, or actually what you need to be mindful here, is that not all products have product techs sold in from other companies. So it's only limited, and chances are your competitors actually won't sell their product tech to you.
Makes sense. They're competing with you.
There. Okay. Then I think we're down to our, yeah. For the civic donations as a percentage of lifetime profit, it's actually easy. So you can build your civic buildings or sports facilities. You can choose from any building type here, including the sports facilities. And then you can just simply go to corporate headquarters through your community engagement department and set here the level of your civic donations.
Okay, but that's expensive, right? So how do you see
Yes.
the impact of that in your financials?
So
The
actually,
income
if
statement, maybe?
yeah, so if I try increasing that, for example, let's maximize it so that we can easily see the effect. So there, let's try, yeah, 100%. Okay. So this should change, but as well as your profitability metrics. So let's try pressing 4. Okay, so
So can we look at the income statement and see the structure of the... So let's look at the information, details, income statement. So donations, okay, team 14.
oh, sorry.
Okay, so donations is now 100. So yeah, so much higher. Now, the other thing is in the corporate details, we can also look at the analytics graphs, right? Can we look at that? The graphs there in the middle, up in the
Oh,
middle,
sorry.
there, to the left, there. Okay, so here we can see, so net profit, yeah, went down a little bit when you did that. So this one took a dip now. And then if you, what else do we see in graphs 2 and 3? Ah, all right. So your training is here. Then R&D, you did this because you already had your quality. What about graph 3? So that's where we can see our civic donations. Okay. So now we increased it and then it went down. Did the COO intervene here again?
Oh, that
I I I think so, no? Kasi
yeah,
even though if we increase it,
yeah,
I
it's
think
actually set
in,
to.
in where maybe not. Where is he? Why did it drop? Did we? Ah, because it's a percentage of profit. So if profit drops, it goes down as well. I see. So we need to study that. But that's good. It gives us a sense of. So any summary comments on your strategy to help our students explore their own strategies?
Yeah. So, in terms of your profit with purpose challenge, actually, this is a good challenge because um, you're not focusing on just the profitability of the company, but you also become mindful of your employees, your community, your suppliers, your every other stakeholder that your company has. And one of the key strategies here is although you may have planned or deliberate strategies, as mentioned a while ago, like your strategy on checking the settings, what types of products to sell, how many retail firms to establish, where to put those in terms of cost, what executives to hire, how much advertising budget, benchmarking, and all that. It's not always the case that everything will go as planned. So what's key here is that while you progress through the game, for example, you are already in year 4, year 5, year 6, or year 7, you don't sit on your chair carelessly. You always check what your competitors are doing. You check for the environment. Is there anything unusual that is happening? Did a natural resources firm or basically a mining site suddenly close? Did one of your shops uh, uh, basically got disrupted? Your supply chain got disrupted because maybe the raw material that it is getting from the seaport or the natural resources site suddenly stopped as well. So all of those factors you have to consider until year 10 because again in a business environment, the only constant thing, of course, is change. And you would want to make emergent strategies as soon as possible so that you can address those challenges as they go along the way.
Wonderful. So, CJ, this is such a big help. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your wisdom on using Capitalism Lab and addressing the goals of the Profit with Purpose Challenge. So, I'm sure all the students will benefit. Thank you.
You're most welcome, Doc Ben. Thank you as well.